All right, so we are ready to move on to our fifth op art design, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. Make sure you have your materials ready beside you. So a nice sharp pencil, an eraser, maybe a little pencil sharpener, a straight edge, and of course some Sharpies, or if you're not using Sharpie, a black colored pencil, a black pen, or regular pencil to shade in the black areas with your pencil. Okay, so this design is going to start like so many of our other ones. We're gonna start with the X. The first thing I'm gonna do is mark my edge here. You're not gonna do that. Okay, so now I have my square fully set up, and I'm going to put the X in my box. So I'm gonna move this up a little bit, and I'm gonna use my straight edge and go corner to corner. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side, corner to corner. Be very careful when you line up your edges, or your corners, I should say. Remember that with op art, you should be at this point realizing the more meticulous you are, the neater you are, the better the result you end up with. So if you have a mistake, go back and fix it. Take the time to do that now before you go and attempt to color it in. Okay, all right. So the design we're gonna be doing today is actually pretty similar to this one in some ways. You'll see how in a second, and I think you'll see at the end too how they have some similarities happening. So if you recall, in this design, we used that X to help us set up squares throughout our piece. Well, we're going to be doing the same thing in this one, but for this one, we're going to be starting at the outer edge and working our way in. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and line up my straight edge, and when I draw my line, so I want this to be parallel to this line here, I'm going to go ahead and just do it between the diagonal lines that are here. Okay, so I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so see that my line stopped at this diagonal line and this diagonal line, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna flip my card this way, and I'm going to work clockwise and go around. So I'm trying to keep this parallel and approximately the same width as I did for the last one. So this should start right at this point where these two lines intersect or meet. Okay, so we're moving that over. Taking the time to clean up that little line that came out too far. You should be doing the same. And now I'm going to turn and do the same thing on this side. So I'm going to do a parallel line starting where these two intersected, and I'm going to come straight down. Okay. Now I'm going to connect these two right between the 2 points where they met on those diagonal lines. Okay, so we have our first square set up, and now we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to try and again keep the width of this one that I'm about to make, so the width of this one the same as the one is over here. Okay, and we're just going to continue this process the whole way around again, and I'll walk you through this one, and then after this one I'm going to speed the video up and do less talking for you because it's the same process for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a parallel line. All right, so now I'm gonna keep going. When I get to a point where I feel like you need to hear what happens next, I'll slow down and talk to you about it. But essentially, we're just going to keep repeating this process we've been doing. Okay, so we're going to get ready to move on to the next step. I'm going to set that up for you here in just a second. Okay, for the next step of this, we're going to do something that's been a little bit different, so pay close attention. Starting in the center box, we are going to count 4 spots. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, which brings us to the box here. This is going to be our guideline for our next step, okay? So what I'm going to do is while my finger is pointing here, and again it goes 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4 out. You're going to take your straight edge, you're going to line that up with the line, and you are going to draw a vertical line that should match up with the edge of this 4th square. Okay, so make sure you go the whole way down. So I stopped right before I hit the bottom. There we go. Okay, so again, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're going to line it up with the edge of that 4th square, and you're going to draw a vertical line. Okay, now we're going to come over to the other side and do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to line my straight edge up with that. And draw my vertical line. Okay, so you should have a vertical section here. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to count out 4 this way. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to use this 4th line. So I'm going to show you again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's the 4th line. I'm going to line this up here. And I'm going to do a horizontal line across. Okay. We're going to do the same thing on the bottom. So we're going to come here. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to line that up. And I'm going to do a straight line across. And hopefully you're pausing this, rewinding and rewatching as needed. Okay, so what I've created here is a cross through the center. So our next step is actually going to begin coloring this in, okay? So we're gonna mark this out in just a second. Okay, so I moved in a little bit closer so that you have a much closer look at what I just drew out, and so that you can kind of check your work and see as I mark this out how I'm doing it. Okay, so again, we wanna work section by section on this. We wanna take our time and be very thoughtful. So we're actually going to start with these, and I'm going to use a pencil to point it out, these little corner boxes. So you see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those on the edge. So we're going to start by marking this little corner box here. So if you think of the T, right, is this tiny itty bitty square that's right in the corner of the T or the cross. So I'm gonna go around and mark each of those with a black dot. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in each of these sections. So black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black, white, black. Okay? Black, white, black, white, black, black, white, black, white, black, white. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by coloring one section in, okay? So I'm going to go ahead in with my Sharpie and I'm going to show you what this looks like. So I'm going to color this really fast and speed it up. So when you see this in a second, you're going to see exactly what one section should look like once it's colored so that you can see how all of them will eventually be colored. Okay, so I've gone ahead and colored these in to show you what it should look like. So I'm going to point out again that around this T or cross, in each corner, that's how I started, was marking out that each one of these little boxes was going to be black. And then I alternated the color black, white, black, white, black, white out on each edge. I finished coloring in each of these, and now I'm going to begin working on the sides of the T or the cross. So let's go ahead and mark those out, and then I'll do the same thing where I go ahead and color it and then we come back. All right, so in this part, pay close attention. So we're gonna work this way. We have two black dots. The stripe in between them will remain white. We have two white sections. So the section here is going to be black. We have a black section, so this is going to remain white. White sections here, so this will become black, black, and white, white, and black. Okay, so see how we're doing it a little bit differently. So black, white, white, black, black, white, white, black, black, white, white, black. Okay, let's go ahead and mark out the rest. So we have black, black, white, white, black, black, white, white, black, black, white, white, black. Okay, let's go ahead and move down to this one. Black, white, white, black, black, white, white, black, black, white, white, black. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and color those in. We'll come back and take a look at what this looks like. Okay, so we have one section left to color, and that is the square on the inside of here. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use the guidelines, or I should say these sections, these white sections around it to guide how we color. So because this is white, all 4 of these sections will become black because all 4 sections outside of them are white. So that means the next sections will remain white, and then we are going to have one black section, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the center square will remain white, okay? So just like I've been doing, I'm gonna go ahead and color those. I hope you're pausing this so you can check your work and make sure that you're coloring it right. And then again, if you have questions, ask them in class. So I'm gonna go ahead and color this in so that you see what the final piece looks like. And then of course my last step is going to be erasing these pencil lines that I have in there. So I hope you've noticed that at no point did I suggest outlining or coloring these diagonal lines, and that's because those are actually going to get erased and removed from our piece of art. Okay, so let's see what this looks like in a couple of minutes. Okay, so there it is fully colored in, and now what I am going to do is I am going to go ahead and erase all of those diagonal pencil lines. I don't need those any longer. I'm even going to pull out the pencil lines here. Okay, and then we'll take a look at this as we zoom out and compare it to the rest of our designs. So we'll give it a second. Okay, and there we have our 5th and final design done. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then of course 2 variations. So a total of 7 different art designs for you to experiment with and to choose from. So I can't wait to see which one you choose for your final composition, and I look forward to seeing them when they're done.